private security, which means more guns, which means more headaches for somebody, probably us.
You guys know I can move things with my mind, right?
Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, is a very curious character both in terms of the comics she was born in and the various adaptations that she's been a part of, both in terms of the animated series she's been in and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because between her time in the MCU movies and her own WandaVision series, she's proven time and time again that she has the power to go toe-to-toe with all the Avengers, Thanos, and then some. But which of these moments truly stand out from the pack? Allow us to show you the top 8 badass Scarlet Witch scenes. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Creating Westview. WandaVision was something. Not the least of which was because Marvel dared to go big and crazy with the series. That was not meant to be the first of the Disney Plus TV shows, but ended up being that way. And it was indeed big and crazy. But it was also a perfect showcase of her powers. We'll be talking about her going up against the person who was the bad guy all along. But let's start off with the big reveal that we all knew was the case, but we just didn't know how. You see, the town of Westview was sealed off from the rest of the world by someone, and we found out it was Wanda. But why? What triggered her? Turns out, after finding Vision's body in the hands of S.W.O.R.D., somehow, she goes to Westview in her nice red car because of course she has that, and we find out that Vision had bought them a plot of land to build a home and life for themselves. It was in that moment that her powers grew beyond anything we'd seen from her before. She warped the whole town and then recreated Vision so that they could be together. Now, for some, this might not seem epic, but it honestly is because it showed in terrifying fashion that Wanda really is one of the strongest people in the MCU. Because, honestly, not many people could have done that short of having the Infinity Gauntlet. Number 7. Crippling the Avengers. When the Age of Ultron stinger was shown with Pietro and Wanda being shown in Hydra's clutches and having their powers, a lot of people were curious as to how Wanda would be used. Because in the comics, she's one of the most powerful characters, period. But in Age of Ultron, she was used at first with a bit of a slow burn approach. In this case, using her chaos to go and give hallucinations to the Avengers en masse and causing them to freeze in their tracks. Each one saw their worst nightmares from the world ending because they weren't ready, to Black Widow seeing the Red Room and the horrors it did to her, and so on and so forth. And when that wasn't enough, she went and brainwashed the Hulk to go into a blind rage and cause havoc that even Tony Stark and the Hulkbuster couldn't fully prevent. When you're able to stop the Avengers without throwing a single punch, yeah, you know you're good. Number 6. Stopping Crossbones' bomb. This one is honestly forgotten because it was a bit of a catalyst for Avengers Civil War in terms of the division that happened. Captain America and crew are going and trying to stop Crossbones from leaving a certain place with a bomb. Steve is able to beat down Crossbones while the others are handling his crew. But then Crossbones mentions Bucky, you know, his Martha, and suddenly Cap is lured into a false sense of security, and Crossbones sets off a bomb that would have killed him if Wanda hadn't contained it. The bomb was incredibly powerful and she was able to prevent it from going off and killing everyone just long enough to launch it into the air. Yeah, she didn't do a good enough job because it did go and kill members of Wakanda. But that wasn't the intent, obviously. Plus, that doesn't stop the fact that she full-on stopped a bomb from going off that would have killed Captain America. Just saying, don't lose the epicness with what happened after. Number 5. Crushing Vision. As you're going to see more later on, Wanda has a habit of subverting expectations of her power by going and taking down some of the biggest powerhouses in the MCU. But in Civil War, when Hawkeye came to get her to join Team Cap, they were stopped by Vision. Hawkeye did his best to stop him, but it wasn't enough. Wanda, however, used her powers to literally send him careening through the earth so they could escape. Just a taste of her power to come. Number 4. If you go out that door. Naturally, there was going to be a moment in time when Wanda had to go and come back to the light. She spent much of Age of Ultron hating Tony Stark and turning the Avengers inwards in order to draw out their tension. But the question was, what would she do in order to fix that? The first step was going and helping the Avengers ensure that Vision didn't get imbued with the Ultron AI. But when the battle for Sokovia happened, all Wanda could see was her mistakes coming back to haunt her. That's when Hawkeye stepped in with the speech that honestly is probably his best moment in the MCU. Because he noted that everything was messed up, nothing makes sense, but that it didn't matter. If she walked out that door and helped, she was an Avenger. So what did she do? She walked out that door and she became an Avenger. And a meme was born as a result of that. Just saying. Number 3. Fighting Thanos' army. One of the biggest scenes, literally and figuratively, in Avengers Infinity War was that of Thanos and his Black Order and their armies going to Wakanda in order to try and get the final Infinity Stone that was inside of a crippled Vision. Wanda naturally was going and staying inside beside Vision so that she could protect him in case things went wrong. But outside, Thanos' army was gaining the upper hand, and as a result, Wanda had to leave and basically go clean house. Using her magic, she went and wiped out a lot of Thanos' major armaments, leading to many asking, why wasn't she here before? A good question indeed. And if that wasn't enough, when Black Widow was having trouble with Proxima Midnight, Wanda came in and got rid of the Black Order member in very quick fashion. Why? Because she could. That's why she's a heavy hitter in the Avengers. Number 2. Killing Ultron. There are a few moments in the MCU where you can say that Wanda was legitimately angry with someone and had deadly intent when dealing with them. Ultron was someone who tried to bring Wanda and her Pietro to his side by helping them see the bigger picture, and wanted them to go and rule at his side once the world had been remade. You could even argue that he cared for them. But when he went and accidentally killed Pietro, oh yeah, Wanda wasn't gonna let that stand. Because she personally hunted down his main form and took out his robotic heart. Ultron tried to warn her if she didn't leave, she would die, and she noted, "I already have died. It feels like this," and crushed his heart to go and seal the deal. The fact that she was willing to die in order to get revenge for her brother is pretty dark. And yet, that's what Wanda does at times. She gets dark. Oh, and speaking of revenge, number 1, containing Thanos. Infinity War and Endgame may not have been Wanda stories per se, but she had a lot of big scenes in them as we already showed. But arguably the biggest one was in Endgame when we went up against a non-gauntlet Thanos. This was a Thanos from the past come to the present. Don't ask. And when everyone was reborn, Wanda was with them. She died in the snap, but just before that happened, she was forced to kill Vision in order to ensure that Thanos didn't get the Mind Stone. But Thanos just reversed time and he personally killed Vision. Naturally, that left Wanda with a very sour taste in her mouth when she was reborn. And to quote Thor more or less, "Thanos, I would have word with thee." Of course, Thanos didn't know Scarlet Witch due to where he was from, but she knew him, and she went to work and honestly kicked his butt in various ways. Not the least of which was using her chaos magic to go and contain him and slowly wring the life out of him. He couldn't get out, period. He had to order his ships to rain fire on them, killing many of his forces in the process just to get himself free. It was this clip that honestly started the strongest Avenger argument online and is still debated to this day, especially because of WandaVision. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the times when Scarlet Witch truly showed off just how incredibly powerful she was? Were you in awe when you saw these powers and abilities the first go-round? Which ones did you think really showcased her strength and creativity? What do you think will happen with Wanda going forward? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and we'll see you next time on the channel.